Chairs, one thing that I would like to start before I go to the 5 main points is that one scholar noted that around the world, corruption has become a primary mechanism by which power and politics functions. And that is why you find the Americans, we started the campaign and formed the anti-corruption body in 1999. The Americans in 2022, they have classified corruption as a threat to national security, and they have come with a strategic concept on how to deal with corruption. The first issue that I would like to talk about, chairs and members, is the appointment of persons to state and public offices. The constitutional threshold for appointment of persons to state and public offices is based on the guiding principle of leadership and integrity under Article 73(2), which includes 1, selection on the basis of personal integrity, competence and suitability, or election of free and fair elections. 2, objectivity and impartiality in decision making and in ensuring that decisions are not influenced by nepotism, favoritism, other improper motives or corrupt practices. 3rd, selfless service based solely on the public interest, which must be demonstrated by honesty in the execution of public duties and declaration of any personal interest that may conflict with the public duties. 4, accountability to the public for decisions and actions. And finally, discipline and commitment in the service to the people. What we have observed, chairs and members, is that persons with integrity issues in this country have been cleared to run for elections or appointed to state and public offices, contrary to the provision of Chapter 6 of the Constitution, and this has become one of the main factors that breeds corruption and impunity and poor governance. EACC proposes an enhancement of procedures and mechanism for vetting of persons for election and appointment to both state and public offices, and we believe this will entail amendment of the Leadership and Integrity Act of 2012 for the effective administration of Chapter 6 of the Constitution, which will ensure selection on the basis of competence, suitability, and personal integrity. I think we are one of the very few countries in the world where you have people holding senior positions, and some of them have even murder charges. That's something that needs to be addressed. Chairs and members, the second issue is about electoral justice and related matters. What has been observed is that in many developing countries, politics has become an engine and corruption is the fuel to politics. And Kenya is not exempted to this. It's one way or another, it's one feeds the other one. The politics feeds corruption and the corruption feeds the politics. I can see Senator Hassan is a little bit surprised. Maybe, sir, at a later stage. Because
you have to avoid those premises by Senator Omar. He's quite good at it. So it can be very intimidating. Just get on with it.
Sorry, Chair. So we are talking about campaign financing, chairs and members, and based on EACC annual corruption perception survey, it is noted that there are increased incidences of corruption during election years in the form of embezzlement, fraud, bribery, misuse of public service and resources. Chairs and members, the observation by this commission is that increased incidents of corruption can be attributed to campaign financing, public resources, such as motor vehicle, staff that have been used irregularly to support aspirants serving in the public position. The Commission recommends operationalization of the Election Campaign Finance Act of 2013 and a radical change of the political culture where handouts and bribery become the source of winning elections. Because what we noted, chairs and members, is that especially if you look at county level, you'll get a governor who will tell you openly that I have used this amount of money for campaign. And once these governors occupy those good offices, I think you can see it practically that the priority is to start recouping what they have spent in a wrong way, not in the right way. So the other issue is about constitutional safeguards under Article 99 and 193. And the Constitution provides safeguard under Article 99(3) and 193(3) on presumption of innocence. And our observation as a commission is that state and public officials implicated in corruption and unethical conduct continue to hold office until all possibility of appeal or reviewed are exhausted. This is a very controversial issue, but as EACC, we believe that there is need for the Constitution. EACC recommend that the Constitution in Article 99.3 and 193.3 be amended so that persons who have been convicted remain disqualified from vying for electoral office until the conviction is set aside by an appellate court. Then the third issue here, we are talking about devolved government. Since the 2010 Constitution, chairs and members, there's two systems of government, that is the national government and the county government. We have been seeing a lot of issues to deal with corruption on governance at the county level, and we believe that county governors exercise executive powers without commensurate accountability. We have many people in the regions who like to occupy certain positions in counties because they are qualified, and most of them are unwilling to go and serve in the counties because many counties operate like sultans or chiefdoms. Because unlike in the national government, where for you to be dismissed, there's a very elaborate laid-down mechanism for a public servant to lose his job. In the counties, it is very easy. If the governor is not, it doesn't like you as a result of certain interest, arbitrarily he can sack you. So these are some of the things that EACC notes, that most instances of corruption in the county governments are instigated by governors through fears and proxies, yet they remain the principal beneficiaries, but you find there is a loophole in law, you are not able to pick them directly. Whereas the accounting officers, who are mainly chief officers, are held responsible, the principal beneficiaries, that is the governors, often escape the responsibility and accountability. EACC proposes a legislative amendment to hold governors accountable for corruption within the counties. This will ensure that there's continuous scrutiny of the governors in management of public resources. And chairs and members, let me divert a little bit on this. There was a submission yesterday that governors should be given immunity for a certain number of years because they are setting the bombers to be in place properly. So I think lifting of that immunity may be suicidal. Oh yeah, that's what it means actually. I'm a layman, I'm not a lawyer, but I think that kind of request, it will create more chaos than accountability, because what they are telling us is that they are ready for responsibility, but they are not ready for accountability. And we say that responsibility minus accountability is equal to corruption. So what the EACC is proposing is that EACC proposes legislative amendments to hold the governors accountable for corruption within all counties at the same time that they take oath of office. No grace period for impunity. They will ensure continuous scrutiny. This will ensure a continuous scrutiny of governors in management of public resources. Then we are talking of budgetary autonomy. Chairs and members, the unique operation of constitutional agencies within the criminal justice sector demand that budgetary allocation and disbursement be guaranteed without undue interference and bureaucracy. And the observation by this commission is that we have noted delayed in disbursement of budgetary allocation, thereby hampering effective discharge of a constitutional mandate. Chairs and members, I know I've been given 20 minutes, but if I can be allowed, I'll just try to expound on this. A classical example, imagine you are EACC and you are investigating the CS Treasury or the PS Treasury. And there's no secrecy. You will get a win that you are investigating him. And you submit, maybe you want supplementary budget. That guy will naturally be hostile. And we have that experience in the previous regime where top guys in Treasury realized that we're investigating them and they decided to starve us. So EACC has noted, so what we are proposing is that we need a legislative amendment to guarantee operational independence and ensuring that adequate budgetary allocation and timely disbursement of effective discharge of our constitutional mandate is done. And this is not only to EACC. We are talking of EACC, we are talking of ODPP, and we are talking of judiciary. Because you can take care of EACC, and if you're not taking of the ODPP, our files will get stuck there. If you're not taking of judiciary, the same problem will happen. So we need that constitutional sort of freedom, whereby this organization, there's a way that their budget is discussed. And I'm not saying that we are trying to run away from accountability. We are just trying to run away from realistic obstacles. We are all human beings. And the last one that we need to present in this committee is the strengthening of the capacity in terms of financial and human resource for all actors of the criminal justice system, that is the ODPP, EACC, IBC, and judiciary. And this will enable the actors to effectively and efficiently address the various election issues of concern which are within our respective mandate. What we are saying here is that if you look at the EACC right now, 4 years ago, we took our structure to the Public Service Commission. It was approved. We are supposed to be about 1,550 staff. Up to now, chairpersons and members, we are still at 790 because the budget allocation is not increased at all. So out of that, we are having a lot of challenges, and the same problem happens to ODPP and the judiciary. So we are also talking of, and this is very important, the last point, this is about separation of statutory mandate for agencies on corruption, economic crime, and unethical conduct. And here we are talking about EACC, DCI, ARA, to avoid duplicity role. We saw it in the last government that the mandate of the EACC was more being divorced and passed to other agencies, and out of that, all of us saw the consequences of that. So if you look at the Constitution, it says clearly that Parliament will establish an anti-corruption body. When you talk like that, it is known that there's DCI and there are other agencies. So we are the specialists in the anti-corruption activities, and we think that there need to be a very clear division, because if you go to our the other colleagues, they will tell you in the Constitution, one of our mandate is to fight crime. Who told you corruption is not a crime? And then we are in a dilemma there. Now we start having sibling rivalry. But those are things that need to be very, very clear. I mean, very clear. And we also saw the abuse where other agencies had some corruption cases, and when there was a change of regime, these cases were collapsing because there was an element that these cases were more of political vendetta than a professional approach to the fight against corruption. The last one is about, I'm sorry, this one will touch on the senators and members of parliament, and I beg to apologize in advance.
You don't need to make any apologies, Talib.
Chairs.
He did, on a light note, you didn't apologize for mentioning governors, and I was seated right here. So you need not apologize for MPs.
I have no apology for governors.
And also for MPs, kindly.
I have no apology for governors because that's the reality on the ground. The issue of addressing of conflict of interest arising from members of oversight committees of parliament who are under scrutiny by law enforcement agencies. Let me elaborate on that. Chairs, you appear before a committee either in Senate or in the National Assembly, and when you appear there, out of the, let's say, 14 members, 3 of them have issues with you at the commission. So these people pre-arrange themselves because they know there's parliamentary immunity, and you go there as a very subdued person, and the first question you may be asked, maybe you have been summoned to come and explain about a certain project that is stuck. Then from nowhere you get a member of parliament, he starts by asking you, how did you buy that building at Integrity Center? It's not in the agenda. Then the other one tells you, but you're being given a lot of money. Where is this money going to? And you can tell very well this is just vendetta because these guys have got issues with us. They have files with us. Some of them we have taken the files to ODPP, and then you remain helpless because you have to observe the respect and the rules of this parliamentary committee. So we feel, I can see Senator Chereke is, Senator Cheriot is to smile about that issue. I think, Chair, we need to have laws whereby when we are summoned by this committee, the commission can write to the clerk of the National Assembly that these committee members, A, B, C, D, we have issues with him here. In a very civilized way, he should be exempted not to appear before that committee. Because we are having a lot of problems and we are not able to talk in the open that we mheshimiwa wako na maneno kwetu.